Miss WINILE, who is at the head deputy of Durban Tourism. Rudy, you can take over.
Thank you very much for that, Portia, and good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, WINILE.
Good afternoon.
Good to meet you, and just to say hello to all our friends on Facebook Live, Rudy Page Live, all our listeners on Fresh FM Radio London, across the globe, in the Caribbean, across Africa, across here in Europe. So it's great to be here. KZN Tourism, as usual, going global as ever. And I'm so pleased we've got yet another member of the team going to give us some insight and background on and the way forward. So WINILE, as the Deputy Head Durban Tourism, you're in quite a important position. So would you just like to say a little bit about yourself first?
All right. Thank you, Rudy. Just greetings to everybody that you've acknowledged in terms of the viewers, the listeners, and to the panelists here, Portia, Stimby, so I see is connecting, and yourself, everybody that has actually joined us virtually. Greetings, particularly people that are outside of South Africa, people that are outside of Durban, and those that are also connecting from Durban, from KwaZulu-Natal, from South Africa, all over the world, just the reach at which this streaming is reaching. So just to briefly tell you about myself, well, I'm the Deputy Head here at Durban Tourism, and I am leading a department that is mandated to drive the tourism of the city of Durban, and it's within the municipality that is called eThekwini Municipality, which is on the east coast of South Africa, and it's actually priding itself with the biggest aquarium, the biggest port in Africa, and also the longest beach promenade in South Africa. So there's quite a lot of unique attractions that we have as the city. So the mandates that we have is to drive tourism, which contributes to the economic development of the city in relation to creating jobs, in relation to promoting the tourism of our city, making sure that with the people that we invite in terms of reaching, they actually come to visit the city, and we pride ourselves around the uniqueness, but also it's more about the messaging of driving that Durban is the warmest place to be. Durban is South Africa's playground. Durban is unique. It's got a variety of things to do in terms of exploring the city. And also for us, you know, it's all about the uniqueness we pride ourselves in. So, so having been here and driving this, you know, in the driving seat of Durban Tourism, what is important is the bottom line of the economic development. And I'm leading a team of about, you know, 70 staff members, and it's a very, you know, experienced team, committed team here at Durban Tourism. And what is also important to note is that as we do our work, we base it on intelligence and also the collaborations that we have with our stakeholders. So in a nutshell, I know I've been touching on my work as well as myself, but in a nutshell, I'm entrusted to drive the seat. And also I have had a lot of, you know, in my career path experience around the local economic development, because the local government, which I think also in the UK, having worked with the city of Leeds, and I've been to Glasgow, I've been, you know, different cities, the Commonwealth, you know, local government, you know, forum is what really we've been part of in terms of driving the local, you know, economy of cities. And that is where the action and the service delivery is at. So also for us within eThekwini Municipality, that is what we are driving, promoting tourism, working with stakeholders, working with communities, because that is where, you know, the tourism is. It's not just out there, it's within the communities, because that's where the unique experience and where the wealth of information is from the people that are from from the places and from the people that are from the area, and also just to make sure that they benefit within the bottom line of the tourism.
Yeah, the culture and the supply chain, and
Yeah.
that driving the local economy, which
Yeah.
is great. So so Durban Tourism recently launched the Tourism Month campaign. Please tell us a bit more about this campaign.
All right, Rudy, September for us here in South Africa, well, globally, September is a tourism month. As upcoming 27 September is World Tourism Day. But for us here in South Africa, the month of September also is a month of heritage, you know, in terms of us as South Africans, you know, celebrating our heritage, celebrating our diversity, celebrating where we come from, because you would be aware that we have a history. There was democracy that we had in 1994, and it's such a cultural diverse in a country. But for Durban, in terms of launching the September month under the theme My City, My Heritage, it's against the backdrop of bringing together the unity of Durbanites, considering the challenges we've had. Yes, globally, we had challenges of COVID, which are still prevailing, and those challenges of COVID had a huge impact on the tourism sector. However, as the city of Durban, we then had our own challenges of socioeconomic impact just for a week full on, in terms of just different challenges that impacted and resulted in, you know, some unrest. So we are saying we've gone past that, and we are holding ourselves together, and we're saying as Durban, we can conquer. And Durban is ready and open for business, open for its visitors. All the challenges that we've had, they've come and gone, and we have risen above those challenges. And we are giving that assurance to our visitors to say, through this launching in Tourism Month, in Heritage Month, we are, you know, together saying we want to protect our city. We are taking pride in our city, and we are saying we are ready to welcome our visitors, and we take them very seriously in relation to the unforgettable experience they will have in terms of the safety, which could be a concern. But with all that we are making sure in terms of advancing the objectives of tourism, we are saying in the Tourism Month, which is actually a springboard for encouraging visitors to visit Durban beyond September, my city, my heritage, let us all as Durbanites take pride in that. And secondly, the theme is inspired by the fact that Durban has got wealth of heritage. Durban has got wealth of culture. We are very much cultural diverse. We are a melting pot through the demographics, through the food, through the music. So, and also through the attractions, because we've got a lot of heritage attractions here in the city of Durban, like our City Hall. There's a heritage story behind the City Hall. We have Inanda Heritage Route, which is actually a route where the first democratic president, you find an attraction there where the first democratic president, Dr. Nelson Mandela, who I believe has got a statue in London, cast his first democratic vote here in Durban, in Inanda. So that is an indication that the richness that the place has got, it's simply to say, it's got a huge significance why such a global icon decided where he could have gone to, where he comes from, or in Joburg, but he said, I am going to Durban, I'm going to Ohlange, where he cast his first democratic vote. And we've got other, you know, heritage sites like museums, which have got wealth of information. And the museums that we have, they're actually telling a story around where we come from as a city, where we come from as a country, and the information is actually preserved here in Durban. So for people to actually experience and get a full 10 key of the information, Durban is a place for them to actually come. And also the buildings in Durban, the city center. So we are actually then saying, through the theme of My City, My Heritage, starting with the Durbanites, because the Durbanites themselves, it's about inculcating the spirit or the culture of visiting. You know, we've been through COVID. They must understand that what their city has in terms of the gems, in terms of the wealth, of tourism sites, and be aware and be visitors in their own city. And then we move to the province, and then we move to the country, which is the domestic market. And then we go globally, because when we do that, in terms of starting with our own Durbanites to take pride and be ambassadors and advocates of their city positively, indeed, by the time the visitors come, or we all in one voice are able to say, Durban is indeed the place to be. And that will be instilling more confidence to the visitors to say, we are a united front, we are protecting our city, and we understand the influence that the tourism has in the economic development. So it becomes a ripple effect through this theme of my city, my heritage, where we unveil and we expose people to their city through programs like Know Your City campaign, in terms of them going to other parts of the city and understanding that, okay, this is how certain people live, because others, they are only aware of their own space, their own cultures, but not aware of the other culture, before we can even start holistically promoting our culture to the world out there. So that is what actually inspired the My City, My Heritage. And over and above that, we are saying every visitor that is coming to the city, because Durban is open for business. Durban is your city. Durban belongs to you as well. So if you come to Durban, it's as good as your city. You are like home away from home. You are not to be treated like an outsider. So this narrative, or this theme, it's a theme for Durbanites, it's a theme for South Africans, it's a theme for everybody across the world, because you will remember that there would be, some, whether African Americans or through the African diaspora, or people that says my roots are in Africa. So we are actually saying, this is the home. This is where, when you come, you do feel indeed at home, because we roll the red carpet to you to say, explore, you are with us, you are part of us while you are visiting. And then when you go back, then you remember that, okay, by the way, I was a visitor here. But through your experience, you indeed feel at home away from home, but you are more pampered. You are feeling, that distress because of the kind of experience that we would be giving to the visitor.
And that's a great message, because what you're really saying, you're invited and welcome, which is really important.
Yeah.
Particularly in the international whole diaspora movement of the African diaspora, you're invited and welcome. It's a great message.
Absolutely.
Your focus on the domestic market, again, it's a great approach, because what you're saying, we have to love where we live in order for others to love and enjoy where we live as well.
Yeah,
which is a great strategy as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Thank you, Rudy.
So Durban is one of the cities that and you've been touched on it already, that have really worked hard to recover. So what are your future plans in terms of the economic development of Durban as a city?
Okay, thank you, Rudy. We are on a journey to recovery, with the whole impact of COVID. We started last year when in March it actually hit. The first point of departure through the holistic city as part of the economic recovery plan. We adopted an economic recovery plan, and within that economic recovery plan, there were 8 pillars that actually were informing and guiding the economic recovery plan. And pillar 8 spoke to the tourism recovery, because within the city of Durban, tourism, actually globally, tourism it plays a very critical role. But particularly for us, Durban plays a critical role in relation to the GDP, in relation to job creation, because it's the biggest, in every transaction of tourism, there's multiple jobs that are created. So for us, the first point of departure, understanding the impact of COVID, there was working with our organizations or key stakeholders, which we call community tourism organizations, as the city, to drive the community tourism. Previously, those organizations, of which in the city of Durban, we've got 9 of them, they're in 9 different parts of Durban, 9 regions. They were, there was an increase of funding which was 100% increase of funding to those community tourism organizations, simply because it was more about empowering them, firstly to recover, and also recover through driving tourism promotion. So obviously for you to achieve certain targets, we recognize that they needed to be resourced. So they were indeed resourced, and that funding came from last year, because it started our new financial year from July to actually June. And over the years, of which now they are actually consolidating in terms of, reviewing where to from here. But that was one of the first things. And secondly, we had a program which is still currently running, which is called Tourism Investment Africa 360 degrees, meaning through that program, a 360-degree approach of turnaround and assisting tourism businesses was adopted, which firstly spoke to actually recognizing and diagnosis the challenges of the businesses. And there was recently a tourism investment symposium, which spoke to actually exploring opportunities of investment for those businesses that have actually suffered, to see what other investment opportunities can be afforded to those businesses, obviously working with potential investors. So that was facilitated by the city. The other interventions that we had in understanding that small businesses in tourism, particularly the accommodation, because there were no visitors, so accommodation establishments, they did not have revenue. The city of Durban actually did a program of affording the businesses to apply for what we call rates rebate, where they could apply for a conversion from operating as business, paying the business rates, to residential rates. So you can imagine, if you're a business, there's certain rates which are actually huge. And then if you're residents, because it's understood that it's more from your disposable income that you would get maybe from a salary. So that conversion of that application or program was there for the businesses. And a lot of businesses actually did take advantage of that. And when COVID started, it was first going to run for a certain period last year, September, and it has since been further extended. Up until now, that has actually been extended because there's the realization that we are still not over yet from the red in terms of the businesses continuing to suffer. And another intervention which we are driving as the city of Durban is to say, as the city, we need to put our money where our mouth is. If we say we're driving tourism and we're promoting businesses, when there's business visits, of which it's starting to pick up now, and when the city is making bookings for any external delegates that are coming down, the priority goes to the small accommodation establishments, simply because we understand that they are mostly a one-man show. It's unlike where they are franchise groups where they can actually just subsidize each other in terms of revenue. So that has actually been another element that is being done in collaboration with the travel office of the city, whereby those accommodation establishments are able to, get the benefits from the bookings of the city. So obviously we are driving that message in terms of promoting those accommodation establishments. And then another drive that we've done, which is continuing to happen as part of the recovery, we started with a keeping the brand alive in terms of, just making sure that while we are not able to have big events, it's not about they are canceled, but it's about they are postponed. But those that we were able to stage, particularly the big brand names, because it was all about just keeping the brand alive, we started migrating to virtual. And as we migrated to virtual and the adjustment, risk adjustment of the lockdown were able to allow us, we were driving many promotional activations across the city. And these interventions, over the period at which we've had the COVID, they've yielded positive benefits. During the Easter season this year in 2021, our tourism actually picked up much, it was very positive, including first-time visits that were coming to Durban. So the adaptation of the approach that we've used has actually yielded positive results. But we're continuing from a global point of view to be engaging with international tour operators to keep the brand alive through virtual tours. Just recently, we've been having training with international, tour operators for them to be aware of what Durban is like. Because if you last came to Durban pre-COVID, Durban has changed. There's been some areas that are repurposed, and those are the areas at which we are promoting and exposing those to operators too. There's been capital projects that have actually been, advanced in terms of the city investing in partnership with private sector on capital projects, because the direction or the approach for us is that when our visitors come to the city of Durban, they find Durban in a different way, because it's all about what is new. And this is guided by the feedback that we continue to get from the travelers, that their expectation in terms of visitation is that they've been to the area, they've been to the location, but when they come, what is new? So that is where we are also making sure that we are relevant and we fulfill the desires or the expectation of the traveler. So those are the interventions that we've done. Now you asked the question, what is next?
Yeah.
We are on the move. We are not stopping, COVID or no COVID. As we speak, we are reviewing in terms of, we have reviewed in terms of the interventions, and we continue to adapt. Right now, in the beginning of, in July, we continued with our virtual, obviously some of the activations or this awareness, working very closely with media, they were at small scale. And then in relation to going forward is to continue to market the destination, continue to forge partnerships. And we are working very closely with our private sector, because remember, as government, we don't own the products. The products are owned by private sector. When we are selling and promoting the destination, we are going beyond just the brand awareness. It's all about what is the tangible product, the packages that visitors can actually access. Because remember now, the travelers have also, who are consumers, they've also been hard hit by COVID. Their disposable income is not the same. So we have their situation, their economic situation in mind to say the value proposition, it's about affordability. And that is how we actually position ourselves as Durban. We are an affordable destination. We've got attractions here, like now in the tourism month, museums. You don't have to pay to go to a museum. You go there, you get the information, you actually have the experience. The beachfront, we've got the promenade. People can cycle, people can jog at no cost. It's just there, open for the public. We've got the parks, So that is what we are actually saying. And also, for those that are actually need to be accessed, those products that needs to be accessed through some funding, that is where the conversation with the private sector is, in terms of looking at a value proposition, having valuable and affordable packages, so that the visitor, if they're coming in big groups, because now they all want to come as families, which is good for our destination, they are able to afford, rather than them not coming at all. So that is where we actually are focusing. And also, more than ever, is to continue with the global engagements. We participated in global platforms, like last April, we participated in terms of, because we are an oceans economy city, we are in a coastal city. We participated in the cruise tourism, the sea trade, a cruise conference, whereby we were making ourselves, known and forging those partnerships with the big, cruise liners, so that as they prepare in terms of luxury to come, they are able to actually dock for longer here in Durban, and we're able to get those people out of their vessels and exploring the city, even having an overnight rather than a hop on, hop off for a couple of hours. So those are the kind of conversations we're currently having now. And more so, it's also about continuing to comply with the COVID regulations, because we pride ourselves, our products are compliant in terms of, the COVID, in terms of the quality, because it's also about product quality, to make sure that when the visitors come, they are really indeed finding what is going to impress them.
Yes.
So we're continuing with that capacity building for our businesses, and also our businesses are taking the visitors seriously in terms of making sure that there is the safety of our visitors a priority. And then coming to the culinary, because right now with COVID, the pillar of culinary has actually been, obviously with the exception of limitations on alcohol, but thanks to our government that has since opened that, and the curfew is much longer. So in terms of that, the culture of dining, you know, is something that is booming within our city, and that is also what we are putting out there for our visitors. Obviously, you don't come to Durban only to dine. You come to Durban to dine, to be pampered, to have an experience with other, you know, experiences. It could be adventure, it could be, you know, shopping, because Durban, we position ourselves as a shopping destination, and also the uniqueness of the arts and crafts that we have within Durban, because they are unique arts and craft, you know, gear and ranges that you can only find in Durban. So when people come, they actually get that whole package around having a full 10-key experience of the city of Durban. So for us, that is those are the key drivers in terms of robust promotion, working with our locals, working with our community tourism organization, because they're on the ground in relation to continue to market those areas and repurposing those areas, and also bringing out what we call hidden gems, because they are those attractions that are not so much known, but that is where we are now diving deep into them to say, by the way, did you know that Durban has got this, including the creative industry? Because you would know, Rudy, I hope, we've got, I think, a 5 Grammy Award winning group coming from Durban, and they have a the house at which the founder, Dr. Joseph Shabalala, is houses here in Durban in Claremont, which is one of our townships. And those are the kind of things that we are bringing out so that people, they know about them.
In the fashion industry as well, of course.
Absolutely, in the fashion industry, because Durban, we are positioning ourselves as a fashion capital. We've got the uniqueness, you know, of the fashion, and also with we have a program that is called the Durban Fashion Fair, which includes small businesses, designers, and also every year there's a drive of recruiting new faces, which are models, because it's all about giving opportunity to different people, not to have the same faces all the time. So those are the kind of things that, in terms of unleashing the talent.
We
so
mustn't
those
forget
are
the reggae festival that you've had in Durban as well.
Yes, it's called One Love. Yes, that's one. It would happen around February, but obviously we've got COVID, you know. So that also showcases the uniqueness. And by the way, talking about reggae, within Inanda, we've got an area which is called the Rastafarian Caves, because you will imagine that in reggae, it's like the demographic of Rastafarians, that those the people that are so much into the reggae. So it's the music, but as well as their heritage, because those Rastafarian caves is their heritage. So those are that's the uniqueness of Durban, in terms of just an integration of everything that talks to heritage.
So can the international visitor, and we'll get to some of the challenges around the current restrictions. So can the international visitor get a taste of Rastafarian culture from the people who are there already, in terms of what they do, who they are, how they got there?
Absolutely. Those people, they are the community, and they are preserving their culture. And the caves are still there. That indigenous way of living is still there, you know. So you just get to be part of them. So that is what we are actually saying as Durban, we pride ourselves in. So they can get the taste of that in terms of the authentic, you know, experience that indeed the Rastafarian people are actually, you know, about.
Right, that is definitely a hidden gem. And I think that's something that could really be amplified much more internationally. That would be of interest to a lot of people. Good to hear that.
Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Yes. So under the current international restrictions that you're facing, so what are your plans for tackling that over the near future now?
Okay, thank you, Rudy. You know, it was exciting that this morning there was an article that South Africa is now moved, I think it's South Africa and Brazil or South America, has been moved from the red list of Germany. Yeah, so obviously we're still not we quite moved the last time I checked from the UK, but gradually, you know,
it's a start,
for
though.
us,
It's a good start.
yes, it's a start. And for us, any move is very important, you know. So indeed, right now, because the UK, where Germany is a key source market, is actually to, because there had been those ongoing discussions with our international tour operators, because we also participate in the ITP Berlin, you know, trade show, and even online, we still have been participating. So now it's to galvanize more of the packages for those people to actually come to Durban, and obviously within the requirements of each mode of transport and each connection. So that is where we are actually focusing on where there's gradual, you know, allowance for our country as in terms of being moved on the red list. While we are still not moved on the red list with the others, we continue working in partnership with Tourism KwaZulu-Natal, together with the tourism, you know, a business council of South Africa, to, you know, continue to advocate. You know, they are driving that as private sector, but because it's important for local government, we are, with this success and breakthroughs that we are having, we are optimistic that eventually we will eventually get out of the red list. But while the situation is like this, for us, we are not stopping. We are not stopping with, you know, talking about or engaging with the global. As we speak, through our national, there's discussions, because I'm sure you're aware, in Dubai, there's the Expo 2020, right? Now, that Expo 2020, there is a pavilion which would be representing South Africa, of which we are part of South Africa. And we are currently looking, obviously, against the allowances in terms of what can be allowed. Also to participate as tourism, KwaZulu-Natal as well as Durban. And also what is encouraging, Rudy, is that through the business tourism, the big conferences, we are having a lot of some conferences that are in the pipeline, which have got a global footprint. In November, we'll be having an intra-Africa trade fair, which is owned by African Bank, and it's going to be having like about 1,100 exhibitors, and it's also going to be having delegates. Now, that is an indication that Durban, we are opening for business. So, and those delegates, so far, the countries out of 55 that were targeted, 26 countries have confirmed to participate. And last week on Thursday, there was actually a signing ceremony that was attended by the former president of Nigeria, Obasanjo, who is currently, you know, the president of the advisory board of the intra-Africa trade. So that is an indication that working closely from a continent, you know, point of view, and resuscitating the African trade, obviously within the global, you know, space, we are actually opening up, and we're looking forward that in a couple of, you know, I'll call it weeks, because November, excuse me, is just after next month, we are going to be welcoming much more delegates, and we are confident that we are going to host this successfully, and that will be an indication and an affirmation that Durban, KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa is indeed ready to, you know, open up. So there are all those things that are in the pipeline, and also we're looking forward to be hosting other conferences like the AIDS conference, which are gradually bringing people. While obviously it might not be easy to bring everybody because of regulations, but the hybrid situation, it also still helps, because we're still connecting with people outside of the city, outside of the country, whom would be planning future visits and be aware that Durban is ready and Durban is open for business. And we're looking forward that these kind of business events are going to help us to secure much more big conferences as the city of Durban, because we've got the infrastructure, we've got the facilities, we've got the biggest international convention center here, ICC, Durban ICC, the Chief Albert Lutuli. So we really pride ourselves that we have everything. All that we are doing is now to just gradually and aggressively stand out, we tell our story that we are ready and we can be able to host any magnitude that is within the COVID regulations.
Yes, that's a comprehensive overview of the city of Durban, and the potential impact on the global stage as well. It's encouraging. It's a good strategy for recovery. Just in the last few moments, maybe we could talk a bit more, which you touched on, about the culture and the people and the heritage, because I think a lot of people around the world who haven't been to South Africa, but of course, you know, we know we have a sense of the history, probably would like to hear a bit more in terms of Durban. What makes you Durban unique? You know, we hear of Joburg, or those of us who've been to South Africa, we may have been to Joburg, we may have been to Cape Town, but we haven't been to Durban. I'm talking about myself now. So what is it really, you know, that what makes Durban stands out in terms of and the province as well?
Okay, thank you, Rudy. I like your question, because that's where you really start talking about the actual civic pride of the people of Durban. Yeah, and also from a tourism point of view. Firstly, our uniqueness is that, you see, this payoff line of Durban, the warmest place to be, it's not just the warmth from the weather, but it's the warmth from the people as well. Because we are a cosmopolitan city, you know. We pride ourselves with the mix of cultures, the melting pots, because one, as Durban is the biggest, is the only city in the world that has got here in Africa that has got the biggest Indian population outside of India, right? In light of the history. And then there's the Africans, and then there's the other demographic, the white as well as the colors. And here in Durban, you find that coexistence amongst the society, you know, in terms of the cultural fusion that we have as the city of Durban. And also the uniqueness for us, it's actually the scenery, like the attractions. Initially, I spoke about Inanda Heritage Route. We've got the Valley of 1,000 Hills, whereby it's a whole scenery. It's called a Valley of 1,000 Hills simply because of the uniqueness that it actually has in terms of when you go there, it's in the western part of the city. When you go there, you're driving on a zigzag road and you see this whole natural, you know, a scenery that we actually have in terms of that. And there's some, you know, a game drives that you can have there. There's culinary that you have there. And there's also the richness of the arts and crafts that you actually have there. And then you come in terms of the uniqueness. We've got an 8 kilometer promenade. It's the longest. A promenade, it's not a pavement, it's a promenade. Like you can have about, I think 15 people standing from the car park right through the end of the promenade. So it's actually so long, and you can cycle there, have many people cycling, another many people jogging, another many people having the Segway on that promenade, other people actually have giving their children this cycling, you know, experiences. And then there's an experience that we call a rickshaw puller. A rickshaw puller, it's like a cart, but it's driven by a human being, and it gives that unique, you know, adrenaline rush from the city of Durban, and it's only found in Durban. You will not find it anywhere else in the country. and it's got its uniqueness, because you go to the museums, Pansi Museum, you will actually get to see the evolution of the rickshaw puller. And that is what gives the uniqueness of what Durban is about. And then you come to, the heritage site. We've got Inanda Heritage Route that is called the Cradle of Democracy. So why Inanda Heritage Route is called the Cradle of Democracy is because you have a mix of the different people that contributed and led the fight against the human rights and the struggle. We've got a home of Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, his home that was here in Durban, and along that route, you then have Ohlange Institute is actually the first school, the school that was built by the first president of the African National Congress, Dr. John Langalibalele Dube, and he has his home there. And he did his, he started his first, a newspaper called Ilanga. It's currently happening now. And that is where the first democratic president, Nelson Mandela, actually came to vote, simply because of the significance of that area has, considering that's the first African National Congress president, Dr. J.L. Dube, is resting at. Then he decided, to come and vote there because of the understanding and belief that indeed that is where the beginning of democracy happened. And then along that route, we've got the biggest African a church, which is called Shembe or Nazareth. It actually, we've got its a different, worship places and headquarters there. So it's such a unique, experience and an informative heritage story, because it's got a mix of the heritage as well as a heritage of religion and a heritage of the African, flavor. And then we've got the Rastafarian caves that you spoke about. It's still within Inanda Heritage Route. We've got Inanda Dam, which actually has got the boat cruise. It's got the canoeing. It's also got, trails around biking, mountain biking, and all other adventures. And within that route, we also have some art centers, which actually promote the creative industry in terms of showcasing through creative. But when you get there through the music, there's also that whole story that is told through the different poets. There's an art center called Wushwini within that space. So that is what creates the uniqueness of Durban and many other areas. I'll talk about Ushaga Marine World. I said we've got the biggest aquarium in Africa. It's at Ushaga Marine World. So all over South Africa, Ushaga Marine World is the biggest. And that is what makes us actually unique. And our harbor, it connects with the promenade. At the mouth of the harbor, just when you are at the promenade, that is where you actually have that, experience. And it's the biggest port within, Africa, the port of Durban. And then just coming to just other few uniqueness that one can actually put out to you. Well, what is important to actually note? I spoke about social cosmopolitan, city as Durban and the social cohesion. Now, also, just to mention is that within Umlazi, right, which where the ladies and the Stembiso actually come from, that area has got wealth of heritage because we've got the different churches which have been built and that tell a story of the heritage of Umlazi. And Umlazi is the second biggest township in South Africa. And Umlazi is the only township here in South Africa, last time I checked. But to my current knowledge, it's got its own registration number, a number plate, the only township. It's called NUZ. So that on its own, it must tell you about the significance of the township that it actually has to it only having a number plate, its own number plate. All other townships, they're in a mix between the suburbs and etc. But Umlazi, where the team here, the colleagues come from, that is, it tells you a lot about that area. So those are just some of the unique experiences that one can highlight, but the list is just endless in terms of the uniqueness of what we have as the city of Durban.
Yeah. And what about sports? Of course, we know sports is important.
Absolutely. We pride ourselves in sport tourism. We've got huge facilities, and they are of global standard.
Yeah,
we've got Moses Mabhida Stadium, our stadium, and we've got which was actually it's named after an icon, Moses Mabhida. And we pride ourselves with the stadium because it's got that legacy of having been built just before the 2010 World Cup, and the facility is able to host both soccer as well as rugby. It's a versatile facility. And then we've got within the precinct of sporting, we've got Moses Mabhida, we've got the Kings Park, which is predominantly in terms of rugby. And we have our Sharks team, which is actually a rugby, a team. And within the soccer, we have 3 teams that currently, we've got many teams as Durban. Maybe let me just clarify that. But in terms of the categories of getting into a Premier Soccer League, we are so excited because as Durban, we've got 3 teams that are currently in that league, and that on its own, it demonstrates that our name is out there on the map. And then moving to the facilities of golfing, we've got the Durban Country Club, we've got Cotswold Downs, because we actually have these facilities at global standard, and they're able to host global sporting event. The beachfront, we host the Ironman, a triathlon. So that says to you, Durban, indeed, we have the facilities. And just now, we are actually looking at hosting beach games, beach soccer, beach volleyball, and all those things. They become a stimulant for promoting tourism, because you would know that sporting brings people together. And in that way, with all the facilities that we have, we pride ourselves that they are indeed at a global standard of hosting and promoting the sports tourism. So the other thing for us, which we're really excited about, is that one of our teams, Amazulu, which is from Durban, is actually playing in the a CAF tournament. So in terms of the African footprint, so that on its own, it's an indication that through this team, our name is out there at a regional interface, and that is a stimulant to say, through the awareness, through this team, indeed people will then come to be here in Durban to experience Durban. So the sport tourism, it actually complements our promotion in many variety of ways. So indeed, our sport tourism, it's sports tourism and a business tourism and leisure tourism, which are very critical pillars for us. And indeed, we are moving into the others of medical. Obviously, there are people, particularly from a SADC region, that would come to Durban, to Durban, because the medical attention or the medical facilities are actually at a standard at which people can get help rather than from where they come from. So for us as a city of Durban, we pride ourselves with those different uniqueness or unique facilities and experiences that we can offer to our visitors.
And you make a good point there, because now that we're in this pandemic era, the whole strengthening of the human immune system, diet, nutrition, exercise, a good environment, healthy environment to live in will be an important part of people getting away around the world. So you're actually making a great point. So just before we hand back to Portia, you've been a great advocate, my city, my heritage, and you really have set the agenda for Durban to welcome the world. So what's your final message before we hand back to Portia today?
Thank you, Rudy. My final message to our visitors is to say, as the city of Durban, we are open for business. We are ready to welcome them. We are ready to receive them. And we take their business of tourism very seriously, and we are a global city, and we actually won global accolades through the World Tourism Awards, through our different facilities. So that on its own is to say, to instill confidence to them, to say we are a global player. And also is to just encourage people to say traveling is not expensive. It might be perceived as an expense, but it's a necessity. Traveling is a therapy, it's therapeutic, because you work so much. There's so much that has happened now in terms of aggravating the stress levels. And just traveling, it could be a walk in the promenade or just flying and taking a drive to a game drive, you know, but Durban has got all the facilities and experiences that people are going to, you know, just have the therapeutic experience. And we are saying as a city, it's affordable to come to Durban. We put the value proposition for them that indeed, with all the experiences packaged, they will be within their affordability, because we are cognizant that the disposable income has actually been affected through this economic challenge that was posed by the COVID. And we are actually saying, let us please be safe. Let us please observe the protocols. And within the city of Durban, one last thing that one would just like to say is that we have not, fortunately, because again, it's a demonstration that our facilities take our visitors seriously. We've not had a case reported that is saying it has been the source of any aggravation. And we are just continuing to be vigilant, and we encourage people as they visit to also be vigilant so that they can travel and the tourism can recover and jobs can be sustained, and we are able to all get our lives back together, simply because now the infections are not as much. But lastly is to say, please do visit Durban. Durban is the place to be. Durban has got their back. We take their visit seriously, from their safety throughout, so that they have a memorable experience. And Durban is indeed the place to be. So those are the final words to say. As a city, global player, we are ready to roll the red carpet to them, for them, and welcome them. And they are indeed going to have a memorable experience. Thank you, Rudy.
Thank you very much, WINILE, the Deputy Head, Durban Tourism, and been a great message for our listeners around the world, Facebook Live, Fresh FM Radio London. Thank you very much. And Portia, back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rudy and WINILE. That was so insightful. So, Rudy, you know, last month it was actually Women's Month, right? So now, do you understand the impact that Durban has gained by having WINILE MNTUNGWA as our deputy head for Durban Tourism, of how much change we're actually going to see? And hopefully we are going to get more tourists now. And I hope everybody that's been listening at home has gained so much knowledge as to what Durban is all about. So now we all know that it's not a rumor that Durban is the warmest place to be. So thank you once again, WINILE, for actually honoring us with your time. Rudy, you're the best. We'll see you again next week. And balalele makhaya, siyabonga kakhulu ngokuthi nilalele nathi namhlanje. And we'll see you again next week, same time, Ntokozo FM, powered by Fresh FM Radio London, from 1 p.m. until 2 p.m. So on Let's Talk Durban. Actually, now I'm saying Durban going global. Actually, Durban is part of KZN going global. And I'm going to leave you now with a lovely song by Zulu Soul, Eti Nguni Love.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.